Hey, hi, this is Gautam. Welcome back. So in video one, we had looked at the concrete machinery industry, and also we looked at a small company, Ajax Engineering, which is present in this industry. Okay. In video two, which is this video, I'll do a quick DCF valuation of this business, and I'll also walk you through the steps on how you could value any business rather quickly. Okay. So I would not get into a lot of detail. I'll stay at a high level. Okay. So yeah, so if you have landed on this video without watching the first one, then I'd suggest you please first watch the first one and then come back here. All right. Okay. So with that said, let's get started. All right. See, now let's understand how do you go about valuing any business at a high level. And I'll not get into a lot of detail, just high level. Let's understand how do you go about valuing a business. And if you already know how to value a business, you can just skip and just go right to the end. Okay. Okay. See, value of any business is the present value of its future free cash flows. Okay. I'll repeat, value of any business is the simple रखते हैं, value of any business is the present value of its future cash flows. तो फ्यूचर में जो कैश फ्लोज एक बिजनेस जनरेट कर सकता है उसकी वैल्यू आज की डेट में क्या है, that is the value of any business. Okay. So what do you need to value any business? First is you need to get a sense of how the company can grow in the future. Okay. How the company can grow in the future. Okay. So you need to understand, estimate, get a sense of revenue growth. Okay. Second thing is, of course, you need to understand at what margin, operating margin, that growth is going to come. Okay. Combination of operating profit, operating margin, and revenue would give you operating profit. So, okay. So basically, you need to get a sense of what is the operating profitability the company will have in the future. Okay. Right. Now, the second thing is, see, when a company, let me just change the color a little bit. Yeah. So, in order for a company to grow, it needs to, of course, invest in machinery, in equipment, okay, to make products. Okay? The company sets aside a portion of the operating profit in, let's say, capital investments. Capex करेगा थोड़ा, capital investments करेगा machine building पे. Okay? And another portion of the operating profit may be blocked, let's say in working capital. Let's say if the customer is not paying on time, customer के पास पैसा फंसा हुआ है, yeah, you have a lot of inventory built up. You are unable to, let's say, sell your inventory fast enough. Okay. So all that money is blocked in inventory or it's with your customer who has not paid you yet. So there is some money that may be some part of your profitability may be blocked as working capital. Okay. All right. By the way, capex and working capital, they are called reinvestment. Get the notion. Okay. Think of this as the money the company reinvests back into itself. Okay. So anyways, when you net out capex and working capital from operating profit, okay, what you get is, we change the pen color again. What you get is cash flows, or rather, let me call them free cash flows. When you net out capex and working capital from your operating profit, you get free cash flows. Okay. Why free? Because the sense is that this is a surplus cash that a business is left with after meeting out its day-to-day working capital and capex needs. Okay. So this is the surplus cash that a business is left with, which are available for distribution to shareholders or the debt holders of the business. Okay. So that's why there is this free wala sense. Okay. So these cash should be distributed to the owners or the debt holders of the business. Okay. So this is what needs to be estimated for the future years and then discounted back to the present. Okay. So that's how at a high level you value a business. Okay. Now, अभी हम सब देखेंगे ये कैसे करोगे आप. Okay. See, capex. There's a way. See, of course, there are like very detailed tarikes to like calculate, estimate all of this, but there are like quick methods to estimate this. Okay. If you if you want a quick back of the envelope method. So how do you estimate reinvestment? Okay. So basically what you do is you let me just 1 second. All right. So a reinvestment estimate करने के लिए again, I very quick चालू तरीका, yeah, which is very effective by the way. Yeah. And again, I'm not going into a lot of detail. Okay. See, there is something called capital efficiency. Okay. That capital efficiency क्या होता है कि what is the amount of revenue a business generates for every rupee of invested capital. Okay. For every rupee of invested capital. Okay. कैपिटल मतलब केपेक्स में या वर्किंग कैपिटल में जो जो भी इन्वेस्टमेंट हुए हैं अभी तक, फॉर एवरी डॉलर और एवरी रुपी ऑफ इन्वेस्टेड कैपिटल कितना रेवेन्यू कंपनी जनरेट करता है. ओके. तो अगर लेट्स से, तो उसको कैपिटल एफिशिएंसी बोलते हैं. एंड we'll I'll tell you how to estimate capital efficiency अभी for this company. So capital efficiency, how do you estimate is, let's say the capital efficiency is 3, कि business generates, for every rupee of invested capital the business generates rupee 3 in return. Okay. तो अगर now let's say business जो है अभी let's say 100 CR का revenue कर रहा है. Okay. In year 1, year 2 में let's say the business does a revenue of let's say 190 CR. Okay. In year 2. तो रीइन्वेस्टमेंट आप कैसे कैलकुलेट करोगे? हाउ डू कैलकुलेट रीइन्वेस्टमेंट? रीइन्वेस्टमेंट कैसे कैलकुलेट करोगे? ये जो $90 का ग्रोथ हुआ है, दैट डिवाइडेड बाय कैपिटल एफिशिएंसी वुड गिव यू रीइन्वेस्टमेंट. ओके. बिकॉज रीइन्वेस्ट कैपिटल एफिशिएंसी क्या है? फॉर एवरी रुपी इन्वेस्टेड, ओके, यू गेट 3 रुपीज एज रेवेन्यू. ओके. ऑलराइट. सो अगर 90 CR का ग्रोथ हुआ है, सो डिवाइड 90 by 3. दैट मीन्स कि द कंपनी हैज इन्वेस्टेड 30 CR in the form of capex and working capital to get from 100 to 190 CR. So that's a very quick tarika of estimating reinvestment. Now the question is, how do you estimate capital efficiency? वो मैं बहुत quick tarika, we'll do it अभी to value Ajax. Okay. So basically operating profit में you net out reinvestments and you get free cash, and you estimate free cash for the next few years. कितने साल तक? Just 30 seconds there. So let's say Ajax, of course, is this industry would be a high growing one. So 10 15 years, okay, you think business अच्छे से grow करेगा. Okay. उसके बाद ना business would, let's say the growth will taper. So beyond let's say 10 15 years, there is something called terminal growth. Again, मैं उसमें घुस नहीं रहा हूं अभी. Okay, I think it's beyond the scope of what we are talking about. Okay, video लंबा हो जाएगा. Just understand कि you estimate these free cash flows for 10 15 years, and after that, there'll be a terminal growth, which there's a formula through which you can estimate the terminal cash beyond the explicit forecast period, and you discount everything in the present, and that's how you value a business. Abhi, I know I'm being high level. Okay, so now let's value Ajax, and hopefully some of these concepts, high level that I threw at you, will make sense. All right. So I wanted to let you know that I have a program in which I mentor students and working professionals on equity research and valuation. Okay, so if you are a student and working professional and aspire to learn skills in this area, then feel free to reach out to me. Okay. All right. So first, let's value this business very quickly. Okay. So as the first step, we need to estimate the revenue that this company may generate over the next few years or so. Okay. So right now, in 2024, the total industry sold 6,000 units of SLCM. Okay. And as per RHP में लिखा है कि industry में 14,000 units of this SLCM would be sold. Let's just take this number as given. Okay. So Ajax market share is 75%. Okay. I'm making an assumption कि their market share drops from 75% to 55%. Okay. Of course, I do not know कि इनका market share, whether they'll be able to, let's say, retain their market share or the market share will drop. Okay. Yeah. So it's just hard to, let's say, come up with future market share estimates. Okay. That's why you need that scuttlebutt. You need to understand how their products are being perceived by the customers. Okay. We haven't done that yet. So I'm just making an assumption कि the market shop, conservatively, the market share will drop from 35% to 55%. Okay. तो अगर ऐसा होता है, so they would be able to sell around 7,500, 6,000 units of SLCM 5 years from now. Okay. And then moving forward, in 2024, the average selling price of one SLCM for them is 32 lakh. Okay, close to this amount. Okay, और assume कर लेते हैं. Actually in RHP they have also given कि future में what will be the price, what could be the price of one unit of SLCM. Okay? So I think theirs is higher. I have assumed कि one SLCM on an average. Okay? There are different variants of SLCM, but I'm assuming कि one SLCM on an average sells for 40 lakh. Okay? तो SLCM revenue कितना कर लेगा? Ajax would be 40 lakh into the number of units they'll sell, divide by 100 करके. So this is the revenue that they'll generate from SLCM in CR. Okay, this is 3000 CR from around less than 1500 today. So they'll double their SLCM revenue. That's what we are saying. Even though the market share will drop, but they'll double their SLCM revenue. ठीक है? Now, तो ये assumption, the assumption that we've taken are in blue. Okay? Now, of course, you have RMC, okay? And plus you have they have a servicing revenue as well, which is small. 15% of the total revenue is RMC. Their RMC product suite, which is not just batch mixers, batching plants, but it is your concrete pumps, etc., etc. So मैंने सबको assume कर लिया है, सब कुछ everything I've assumed कि it's a part of this header, okay? Or probably I can come up with a different term as well, but all of that, everything besides SLCM is 15% of the revenue, and it includes the service revenue as well. मैं assume कर रहा हूँ, okay? Again, not taking broad assumption, I'm assuming कि this will stay put at 15%. Okay, so if I make this assumption, तो total revenue कितना करेंगे 5 years from now? Would be 3048 divided by 85%, right? Okay, so 5 years from now, they'll make around 3600 CR worth of revenue from around 1700 today. Okay, so that's a very quick back of the envelope projection. ठीक है, so let's plug that in our model. कितना revenue करेंगे ये लोग? Model हमारा यहाँ पे है. Second, let me give you a full picture of this model. Don't get overwhelmed. Okay? This has the same components that we just discussed. Okay? How do you value a business? पहले में revenue, मैं assumption ले रहा हूँ कि I'm forecasting revenues. I know I forecasted revenue for 5 years. Okay? But here, okay, I'm taking a step further. I'm just saying I'm going to forecast revenue for 10 years because this is a growing market. In fact, I should actually go beyond 10 years, but I'm being very conservative. Okay? Because I do not know a whole lot. Right? Okay? So base year में, see, you can pull a lot of base year information. पहले क्या है आपको अभी revenue अभी तो FY24 is almost over. So in the 9 months that have gone by, if you look at their numbers, they have done a revenue of around, I think, 1935 CR in the last 12 months. Okay, so and the EBITDA margin at which they have generated this revenue, I think it's 15.1%. Okay, so I plug the operating margin and I plug the revenue numbers here. Okay, okay, तो और आपने देखा था कि the first two things that you need is revenue and you need the margin. Okay, मैं थोड़ा सा एक और स्टेप कर रहा हूँ. एक और स्टेप, the step that I'm doing is कि operating margin typically होता है post tax. तो I'm just doing a small step that you can see. I'm removing the tax. So post tax आपका operating margin is 11.2%. Okay, so you need revenue and you need operating margin post tax to get to operating profit. So let me do that for you. Okay, तो revenue अभी कितना? Let me plug in revenue. Okay, तो अभी हमने देखा कि revenue will grow to 3600 5 years from now. Okay, मतलब करीब यहाँ करीब by this year 4, end of year 4, FY29, 9 months, the revenue would be close to 3600. Okay, तो मैं क्या करूंगा? And also one thing more, the management has given some revenue estimates. The management has said that they are expecting their revenue to grow at around 18% over the next 4-5 years. Okay, so मैंने क्या किया? I've been conservative. I have not taken management का guidance at face value. मैं assume कर रहा हूँ कि year 1 में there'll be a drop in revenue given the front loading of demand, given the pre-buying that has taken place. Okay, तो revenue ज़्यादा नहीं बढ़ेगा, but in subsequent years the revenue may grow at a shade under than what the management is saying. So I don't want to be as optimistic as the management. तो मैं थोड़ा सा, instead of 18%, I'm just taking 17%. I can take even lower. Okay, so you see, if I take 17% growth rate, okay, so by end of year 4, that is by end of almost FY29, okay, my revenue is almost the same as what I had estimated यहाँ पे at 3600. Okay, so by taking these growth estimates, okay, I arrive at almost the same revenue which I had estimated in this other sheet. Okay, all right. तो अब मैं क्या करूंगा? Beyond year 5, I am assuming the revenue will go down because see I do not know a whole again I at the risk of repeating myself I'm being conservative कि आई एम अज्यूमिंग कि कंपटीशन काफी आ जाएगा मार्केट में ओके ऑलरेडी मार्केट में है कंपटीशन सो आई डू नॉट नो हाउ द कंपटीशन गोना बिहेव तो मैं अज्यूम कर रहा हूं कि स्लाइटली लोअर ग्रोथ रेट्स बियॉन्ड 5 years जस्ट एन एजम्पशन ओके ईयर 10 तक ईयर 10 के बाद आई एम अज्यूमिंग द बिजनेस इज टर्मिनल ग्रोथ जो है 7% है बिजनेस गोना ग्रो एट 7% तो मैं इसको 7% पे ग्रो कर दे रहा हूं तो आई हैव माई मेरा रेवेन्यू फोरकास्ट हो गया है अगेन assumptions हैं all my assumptions are in blue so I'm done with my revenue forecast okay now the only thing that we need to do is we have the margins already okay assume कर लेते हैं assume करते हैं okay? कि operating margin see year 1 में operating margin there should be a drop okay all right because the raw material cost is increasing okay तो मैं assume कर रहा हूं कि year 1 में थोड़ा सा और drop हो गया year 2 में they are stabilizing and then year 3 and on they are again back to 15% margin which they have demonstrated historically okay और मैं इसको ड्रैग कर देता हूं okay so what is my operating profit after tax 26% टैक्स ले रहा हूं मैं sorry okay so I have my let me just put this in yellow तो मेरे पास मेरा sorry so I have my revenues forecasted and I also have my operating margin forecasted मैं इसको येलो कर दे रहा हूं because these are two things that we needed and we already have them I know we have taken some assumptions ठीक है अब क्या करना है हमें ऑपरेटिंग प्रॉफिट कैलकुलेट करना है हाउ डू यू डू दैट जस्ट मल्टीप्लाई okay so you have operating profit calculated as well and I'm just going to drag and drop okay so मेरा operating profit आ गया for the next 10 years okay so I'm done with my operating profit as well now मेरा operating profit आ गया recall what we had discussed कि a portion of the operating profit will be reinvested back into the firm okay तो हमें reinvestment calculate करना है reinvestment is nothing but a combination of capex and your working and the money that is stuck in working capital okay we discuss it at a very high level and how do you estimate this reinvestment what we have here in yellow how do you estimate that okay see very quick tarika okay is you calculate capital efficiency ki what is the capital efficiency at which the business is generating revenue okay तो मैंने यहाँ पे लिखा है the step to estimate invested capital and then the step to estimate capital efficiency कैसे करोगे आप okay मैं बताता हूँ invested capital के लिए because see what is capital efficiency is per rupee of invested capital what is the revenue the company is able to generate तो आप ये अगर फॉर्मूला देखो so for this you need the denominator आपको एस्टिमेट करना है इन्वेस्टेड कैपिटल तो डिनोमिनेटर एस्टिमेट करने के लिए लेट मी गो टू स्क्रीनर एंड डू इट इन फ्रंट ऑफ यू ओके आई गो टू स्क्रीनर यहाँ पे what I'll do is okay, let me September 2024 के numbers okay, so यहाँ पे I will pick fixed assets you make a note of 166 मैं यहाँ पे एक let me open up a notepad and just put all these line items in fact notepad की जरूरत नहीं है let me just write here okay? तो you first ये September 24 के numbers हैं तो 166 worth of fixed assets है आपका okay? CWIP you total you so your invested capital is fixed assets plus CWIP okay and plus it's your inventory you also add trade receivables okay you also add loans and advances and you also add other asset items okay so except cash and investments you pretty much add everything जो मैंने सर्किल कर रहा है okay and then from this तो ये आपके टोटल एसेट्स हो गए and then you net out your trade payables ये आप let me just use a different pen okay? तो ये आप net out कर लो okay and you also net out other liability items okay so if you do the math okay अगर आप ये math करो you kind of add these and then remove the ones that I've encircled in yellow which is your trade payables and your other liability items okay तो क्या होगा तो what you will get is invested capital okay तो यहाँ पे if you do that math अभी जो हमने देखा so what you'll get is 571 CR so your invested capital in the business as of the latest reported balance sheet is 571. ये 571 का इन्होंने इन्वेस्ट किया हुआ है, which is a combination of not only your capex fixed assets plus also your working capital. तो इतना इन्वेस्टमेंट कर चुके हैं. Okay? तो कैपिटल एफिशिएंसी कितना हो गया? यू डिवाइड रेवेन्यू बाय इन्वेस्टेड कैपिटल. Okay? तो इसका मतलब 3.5 आ गया आपका. इसका मतलब for every rupee that of investment that they have done in their business, they have made 3.5 rupees as revenue. 1 रुपए डालने से 3.5 रुपए इनका बना है रेवेन्यू में. दैट्स व्हाट इट मीन्स. ओके, तो हम यही इंफॉर्मेशन यूज करेंगे टू एस्टिमेट देयर टोटल रीइन्वेस्टमेंट्स. ठीक है, अज्यूम कर लेते हैं कि फ्यूचर में शायद रीइन्वेस्टमेंट थोड़ा ड्रॉप हो जाए फ्रॉम 3.5 to 3. अगेन आई एम बीइंग कंजर्वेटिव, और मैं अज्यूम करता हूं फॉर द नेक्स्ट 10 years इनका ये रीइन्वेस्टमेंट रहेगा कि 1 रुपए डालेंगे तो दिल गेट 3 rupees बैक इन रिटर्न. ओके, एज रेवेन्यू. So if I so now let's estimate this line item in yellow, which is our reinvestment. तो reinvestment कितना हो गया? Reinvestment would be the change in revenue. The change in revenue. Okay, look at the formula that I've used. Change in revenue divided by capital efficiency. तो आपका reinvestment आ गया 79 CR back in the business. Okay, and I'll just track this. So I get my reinvestment for the next 10 years. Okay, रीइन्वेस्टमेंट फॉर द टर्मिनल ईयर जो है बियॉन्ड 10 year, मैंने ऑलरेडी एक फॉर्मुला डाल रखा है. okay? मैंने अज्यूम किया है नॉट मैं टर्मिनल ईयर में देयर इज स्लाइटली डिफरेंट मैथ दैट गोज इनटू. तो अभी मैं उसमें जा नहीं रहा हूं. आई हैव पुट इन द डिस्क्रिप्शन हियर, यू कैन टेक अ स्क्रीनशॉट एंड सी कि आई हैव टेकन एन assumption कि आपका दैट इज समथिंग व्हिच आई हैव नॉट डिस्कस्ड इन दिस वीडियो, सो आई डोंट इंटेंड टू स्पेंड टाइम, बट यू कैन लुक एट द assumption आई हैव टेकन. कि मैं अज्यूम कर रहा हूं कि मैंने अज्यूम कुछ assumption लिया है टू एस्टिमेट माय टर्मिनल रीइन्वेस्टमेंट अभी के लिए. ओके, अगेन उसमें ज्यादा जाऊंगा तो वीडियो लंबा हो जाएगा. ओके, सो फॉर नाउ see at a very high level the assumption I have taken is that right now they are operating at an ROIC, or return on capital, of around 33, 34, in fact 38%. Okay, तो future में that ROIC beyond 10 years will drop to 20%. ROIC क्यों drop होगा? Because they have a lot of competition coming in. Okay, so they may not be able to protect their return on invested capital. अगर वो drop होगा तो अगर वैसे वो drop हुआ 20% में, तो क्या होगा कि they'll have to reinvest a lot more in their business to जनरेट रेवेन्यू. ओके, तो मैंने वो कॉन्सेप्ट यूज किया है, उसका फॉर्मूला मैंने यहाँ पे डाला हुआ है. तो अगेन नॉट गेटिंग देयर अभी के लिए. ओके, बट यू कैन टेक अ स्क्रीनशॉट एंड सी व्हाट आई हैव डन. इफ इन केस यू आर इंटरेस्टेड यू कैन राइट टू मी एंड आई विल हेल्प यू आउट टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट आई हैव डन. ओके, एनीवे, तो फ्री कैश फ्लो कैलकुलेट कर लेते हैं. तो फ्री कैश फ्लो वुड बी योर ऑपरेटिंग प्रॉफिट माइनस योर रीइन्वेस्टमेंट. Operating profit after tax minus reinvestment, that's your free cash flow. Okay, and then I drag it, so I have the free cash flows for the next 10 years. Again, फॉर द टर्मिनल ईयर कैश फ्लो के लिए मैंने अगेन एक फॉर्मुला डाला हुआ है दैट यू कैन नोट डाउन व्हाट आई हैव डन. उसमें मैं नहीं जा रहा हूं अभी. ओके, ऑलराइट, नाउ सो bulk of the work is done. We have estimated the free cash flows for the next 10 years and the terminal year as well. Now what we need to do is we need to just discount it back to the present. So the cost of capital that I have is 11.5%. So that's the ये cost of capital है which I have estimated ahead of time. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to discount my, हटा देता हूं, I'm just going to discount my free cash flows with this cost of capital. Okay, तो इसका मतलब क्या हुआ कि लेट्स से 10th ईयर में अगर मेरा बिजनेस 190 564 सीआर का कैश फ्लो जनरेट कर रहा है, लेकिन उसकी वैल्यू आज की डेट में इज ओनली 190 सीआर. that's all that's what discounting is. And then if I just sum up all these values, so my fair enterprise value is around 6000 CR. That's my enterprise value. From enterprise value, how do you get to market value of equity? Okay, आप स्क्रीनर में जाओ, you pull in debt, इनका हार्डली कोई डेट है, I think 2 CR का something. Cash, let's just go to screener and see what kind of cash they have. Okay. Right, so they have so if you hope my screen is visible, let's just pull the cash. कितना cash इनके पास? Okay. Cash जो है इनके पास, if you see, sorry, why is this not working? Okay, the cash that they have is 53, okay, plus investment. So both of them are your cash items. So they have around 428 CR worth of cash if you add these two items together. Okay, so let's just plug that in our model. Okay, So hope my screen is visible again. तो ये 428 अगर मैं, what happened? So this 428 gets added. So how do you estimate fair value of equity? You add everything together. You remove the debt and you add back cash. So you have your fair value of equity, which is around 6,400 CR. Okay. Shares कितने हैं? Shares कितने हैं? Again, let's put that information from screener. इनके शेयर्स हैं 11.4 CR. Okay? और अभी कंपनी ट्रेड हो रही है 610 रुपीज. Okay. In fact, why is this? In fact, let me refresh. Old screen है. Okay. कंपनी ट्रेड हो रही है 602 रुपीज में. Okay. And the number of shares is 11.4. Okay. Now let's go back. Plug this information in. So hope my screen is visible. Yeah. So 11.4. And if I divide the fair value of equity by 11.4, all right, तो मेरी fair share value आई 558 rupees. Okay, तो almost मतलब very close to what the current market price is. Okay, so as per me, the fair value of, as per the assumption that I've taken, the conservative assumption that we have taken, the fair value of equity is around 6,400, which is very close to where the company is trading at right now. The fair share price काफी close है to the current market price. So based upon some of the high level assumption that we have taken is if income revenue from almost under 2,000 CR, if it more than triples, almost triples to, or rather sorry, more than triples to 6,000 CR in 10 years, okay, and they operate pretty much at 15%, continue operating at pretty much 15% industry leading margin at a capital efficiency of 3, okay, then as per these three high level assumptions, okay, the company is trading at a reasonable valuation right now. Pretty much reasonable valuation. Okay. All right. Now, अगर मैं एक multiple calculate करूं, EV by EBITDA, if I calculate the EV by EBITDA multiple for them, so right now, or rather EV by EBIT, let me just say EV by EBIT. Yeah. EV fair enterprise value is almost 6,000. Okay. EBIT is, in fact, okay, EBIT हमने किया नहीं है, तो let me just calculate EBIT very quickly. Sorry. Okay. So EV by EBIT multiple जो है would be this. Let me just lock this. By EBITDA. EBITDA कितना है? Sorry, EBIT, not EBITDA. Okay. So around 20 है EV by EBIT. Okay. ये fair EV by EBIT multiple है. If I make an assumption, if I make an assumption that if I make an assumption that this is the multiple at which this is the fair multiple of this company at which it may trade, let's say 5 years from now. Okay. Okay. So what could be the future enterprise value 5 years from now? It could be this multiple times EBITDA. EBIT कितना होगा इनका? 611 5 years from now. Okay. Sorry, the enterprise value of this company is I think just under 7,000 CR. So 7,000, just under 7,000, I think 6,500, close to around that range. So the enterprise value may grow to 12,000. Okay, so you can do the math. कितना return आप so let me just show it to you. So the fair market value, sorry, the enterprise value of this business is 6,824 right now. Okay. So अगर ये 6,824 अभी fair market value है, okay, so let me just go back. Okay. तो कितना, किस रेट पे ग्रो करेगा? 6,824. Okay. तो अराउंड 12% CAGR पे दिस कंपनी कैन ग्रो इन द फ्यूचर. मतलब रिटर्न दे सकता है 12% का इन द फ्यूचर over the 5 years or 5 year period, if based upon these assumptions that I've taken. All right. So anyway, you can do your own math. You can be more aggressive than me or more conservative. It totally depends upon you. My idea is to kind of walk you through at a very high level as to how do you go about valuing the business. And because we haven't done that the thorough scuttlebutt research yet, so that's why I'm being conservative. Okay. And and if in case I would love to collaborate with you, any scuttlebutt research that you may want to do on your own. Okay. And also, please, it's very important. See, this is not rocket science. You can totally research and value business on your own. All right. So hope this was helpful. I know I did not walk you through my terminal year calculations and assumptions due to paucity of time. Okay. You can only do so much in if you're trying to condense a lot of content in a shorter video format. Okay. Uh, but yeah, I hope this was helpful. Hope you got a sense of how you would go about valuing a business. And as I said, you can take a screenshot about my assumptions. Again, of course, you can reach out to me if you have questions. I wanted to let you know that I have a program uh, wherein I mentor students and working professionals on equity research and valuation. Okay. So if you are a student or a working professional and you aspire to learn skills in this area, then feel free to reach out to me. Okay. So, and, so would love to have you as part of this growing community. All right. Thank you.